Since then, we've been trying to assess the damage that has happened. We're already providing cooked meals into hospitals in the region. We're also hopefully, by the earliest today, by the latest tomorrow, going to send in 100 families worth of aid packages to those who are affected in the region of Guyana, which is the most affected area so far.
Tell us, what is the humanitarian situation like now on the ground following the quake? Is food the most pressing need at the moment?
Well, food and shelter, because a lot of these people and families have lost their homes. So anything that they ever owned is under the rubble, which means that they have to have a place to spend the night. The weather is getting worse by the hour. We had rains last night, which made it more difficult for people to reach the areas and help out. So shelter, food, and then a conversation about mid to long-term rehabilitation for these people.
Describe for us what the terrain is like and exactly how challenging it is to get aid to those in need.
Well, we have to realize that the southern regions or southeastern regions of Afghanistan are very close to a fault line, which means that they're prone to earthquakes. And these houses are in impoverished areas, so they aren't really built with the most sturdiest material. So with the landslides that happened in those hillsides and the valleys, a lot of these houses were just buried as a result, which necessarily means that these people are displaced and they don't really have much to go back to. So there really has to be a conversation about setting up temporary shelters for these people, and then talk about the Taliban government actually announced a 1 billion Afghani fund to help these families, which includes cash handouts. Also, international aid has started rolling into the country. We've seen airplanes coming from Qatar, Iran, 8 truckloads from Pakistan. So all of that has been coming in.
What systems and infrastructure are in place, though, to ensure all this help gets to those who need it?
I mean, Afghanistan doesn't really do well with systems, hasn't done well with systems traditionally for a while. And it's not that systems aren't good, it's just that we just don't have them very often. So I guess we, right now, if you talk about our initiative, one of the problems was how are we going to shortlist families that were the most needy? And the tribal elders there already have lists and they tell you who deserves it most. So hopefully with our people on the ground there, we can verify that and then go with whatever the local community asks or directs us to do so. And then the Taliban have responded decently. The six military helicopters that were assigned to fly into these areas and evacuate people, those have been of great help. And just the fact that there's people on the ground and the information is being shared does help a great deal. It's just about trying to find the right contacts and making sure the international aid organizations and the Taliban are on the same page so that the response is quick and decisive.
And survivors who experienced the earthquake, what stories have they shared about what they've been through? What have you heard from the people that you've got on the ground there?
Well, I mean, these people just woke up to an earthquake, and just from personal experience, the idea of earthquakes that could take down your house is just a scary trauma to carry for the rest of your life. But also when we went to Gardez Hospital, where some of the victims were, the fact that we were giving them one meal meant the world to them. It just shows you the amount of desperation. It's not like a modern urban center where, okay, even if you lose your house, you can go to a bank, you can get funds, you have family. But when your whole area is devastated, there's no one to turn to and nothing to survive off. So these people are at the edge of their survival. So whatever we can do right now is going to mean the world to them.
And I guess what complicates efforts to help these people is the fact that Afghanistan has already been struggling with a dire economic and humanitarian crisis after years of conflict and drought.
Look, there's a category of crises that are called compounded crises, and Afghanistan somehow doesn't do simple crises. It's always compounded. We had a drought when the Taliban came to power. Then we had the backbreaking sanctions that are still choking the economy. And there are carpet sanctioning. That means they're not trying to just hurt the Taliban. They're majorly hurting the larger population. So no banking sector, no new banknotes coming in, no federal reserves for Afghanistan. International transfers are a horror show. So with all of that in mind, we're just stuck between a rock and a hard place. And then you add to it an earthquake where you need maximum efficiency, maximum communication between aid organizations and the Taliban. And right now, the international community is at such an impasse with the Taliban that manifests itself in the way that this aid work isn't as coordinated as should be. And both sides need to really sit down and start sharing information and acknowledge each other's existence, because the ultimate goal should be to save human lives.
Obaidullah Baheer, thank you.
Thank you for having me.